Most men now realize that marriage is a scam. Today's video comes from the Steve James channel. His channel will be linked in the description of the video so that you can go check him out and support him. Watch to the end of the video to fully understand the implications of men finally waking up and realizing that marriage is a rigged game and now choosing not to engage in it. And we'll go ahead and jump right into the video after a message from Angry's Crypto Academy. So you guys know what's happening right now in the economy. You know, the economy is not going very well. And the only way that you could really protect yourself and safeguard your future is going to be with crypto because hard times have arrived. ATMs will stop working. Banks will chain the doors. Protect your wealth and safeguard your future with crypto. Angry's Crypto Academy will teach you how to buy, sell, trade, and invest in crypto. We'll tell you exactly which coins will mint you millionaires, how to spot potential coins to invest in. Don't miss out. The Academy is linked in the description of the video. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I made it back outside finally. It looks like the temperatures were on the rise for a little bit. We got more cold temperatures coming next week, but I guess that's just the way and the nature of it when you got kind of the polar vortex they're talking about. Today, I wanted to delve into a little bit more personal stuff, sort of a warning for those of you who don't really understand the nature of marriage, especially in the Western world today. And I'm going to delve into my experience and my story quite a bit deeper. For warning, this is a bit of a horror story, and you are going to be reeling from it and probably hiding under your covers by the time I'm done telling you everything, but here goes. As most of you know, there is a huge amount of divorce happening. The rate of divorce is somewhere between 50 and 60%, depending on which numbers you look at. And a lot of people are getting divorced because initially the woman files for divorce 70 to 80% of the time, simply because our society is completely falling apart and it's encouraging people to break up families over literally nothing, go chasing after your dreams, break up everything and ruin your life. Well, I have a personal horror story that will kind of explain a little bit of my motivation, even for starting my YouTube channels, and especially this one, and kind of fill you in on my background to a certain degree. I went through a divorce. I was married years ago, had kids when I was young, and I know I've been told I look a little younger than I actually am. I'm in my mid to late 40s. I don't like to give too much identifying information. You just, my name's Steve, and that's where I'm at. To get right into it, I went through a divorce. They ended up, after everything was happening, they ended up giving her alimony. She wanted to file with the court to get alimony. There were several things that were really in the way of it that I attempted to protest. She was living with a man, very likely pregnant with his child at the time, and doing stuff together on bank accounts. And even the following year, filing their taxes together, even though she was legally married to me. Still going through the divorce. As time went on, I eventually got a hold of an attorney who was able to help me with it. But part of the reason why I had to is that when I initially protested all of this, the judge looked right at me and said, well, you can't just come in here and say that you think she's living with this other person and involved in a romantic relationship. You're going to have to provide some kind of evidence and proof. Which led me to go through multiple different attorneys until somebody wasn't shaking in their boots and actually would take this on to fight it. To get to that point, we eventually I found a good attorney that was willing to do that. We got a hold of a private investigator, got a hold of the information, but as you know, in the court system, sometimes you can be waiting for 6, 8, 10 months for a court date to get something in front of a judge and get something addressed. After a few years, finally towards the end of the divorce, and after they were likely going to determine that I owed some sort of debt, which unfortunately where I live, debts cannot just be vacated afterwards. So she essentially can potentially get cash and prizes even if caught lying. Now, my attorney warned me that's probably what's going to happen. He said, we're going to get in there, we're going to have the private investigator's evidence, we're going to have all this evidence against her, and even when she gets caught lying, they aren't going to do a thing about it. She'll be caught committing perjury and fraud. personally against you and having manipulated the court system, and they're not going to do anything about it. They're just going to strip it from here on forward. And I was like, wait a minute. So I'm going to owe a debt, even though she is being forced to admit and proven with evidence that she lied about it all? And he was like, yep. And he goes, you're going to hate the system after that. And I did. How can you? How can you support that level of corruption? So we got in there. Yes, she got convicted of alimony fraud, essentially. They stripped her of any further alimony payments. They weren't able to vacate the old debt because certain, I guess you could say, feminist laws have taken place here where they kind of contradict common sense, that if somebody gets caught committing fraud, they shouldn't be able to benefit or profit from it. But the way that it was structured and set up, there's a division of support enforcement that handles things like everything from child support to other things, and they were the ones that would eventually take on this debt and then come after me to make me pay it. Which means I am paying for somebody to live with another person, have children with them, live a whole life with them, and I can't really do much of anything about it. I might be able to file a personal lawsuit.
So it's just like I often say to you guys, that women are incentivized to extract wealth and resources from men by the state because they get a cut of it. When it comes to things like child support payments, the state actually takes out an entire loan for all the years of child support that the man is going to ultimately end up, owing the woman. And even if he's proven ultimately to not owe that money, like, the child isn't his and so forth, sometimes the court will make him continue paying child support. Or even if the child support does come to an end, the court will not return the funds that have already been paid because they will say that it would work against the favor of the child. The reality is it would work against the favor of the state because the state has already profited. The state has already profited off all of the child support payments that he's made, which means that the state would have to reimburse him as well for those child support payments. They would also have to admit that the woman was fraudulently paid child support. So the easiest thing for them to do is to simply pass these laws and policies that ensure that the man ends up losing out in the end. And I've warned you guys about the system. I've warned you just how broken this system actually is. Women operate as agents of the state, and their job is to extract wealth and resources from men, through the court system, through the legal system. The state does not care how they do it, just that they do it. And they will always have the benefit of the doubt. They will always be given the not only the benefit of the doubt, but they will always be favored in a court of law. Women extract wealth and resources from men through criminal court, through civil court, through family court, through divorce court. Again, the state doesn't care how it's done. It's just they just want it done. And as a result, women are rewarded with the resources of men. Okay, they were given special privileges while men are given special punishments. This is also the reason why a lot of simps are not victims. I've said this before. All right. Many, if not most simps are not victims. They are opportunists because by betraying men, by betraying masculinity, they are given access to resources and to women. In other words, a lot of these men would never have been marriageable men. A lot of these men would never have gotten married in the past. A lot of these men are even now, they would not be accepted by most women. But because of the way that society operates today, they present themselves as these types of men who will allow anything and everything in a relationship. Society promotes these types of men, and then these men also betray men and masculinity, and they are rewarded with resources and access to women as a result of their actions and their behavior in society. And if you notice, if a woman ever talks out against things like feminism, and I'm not going after feminism, but I'm just showing you how it works. If she is not working in the interest of the state will ultimately conclude that she is working against the state, and now she will become an ENEMY of the state. And then you will see the Sims actively going after her, and no one is going to defend her. All right? Because that, like I said, the state, it's not that the state actually cares more about women than men. If anything, I think it would care less. The reality is that it simply is using women to get what it wants, to extract wealth and resources from men. Men are ultimately the prize. Most women don't realize just how vulnerable they are in this world without a man. Okay? Women are completely at the mercy of the world as well as the state without men. And most women don't comprehend this reality. Even though subconsciously they know this, they refuse to admit it because of the seed of women's liberation, women's empowerment and feminism has led them to believe that by professing that they are stronger than men, and that means that they are more powerful, and that means that they can take on anything that the world has or will throw at them. When the reality is that they continue to be subsidized by men because men pay 80% of all taxes, which subsidizes the living of women, while women make 80% of all consumer purchases. The average man will leave the average woman will leave a deficit on the economy over the course of her life. So meaning she will take more money out of the economy than she puts into the economy over the course of her life, while the average man will leave a surplus on the economy over the course of his life, meaning he will put more money into the economy than he takes out of the economy over the course of his life. As men are walking away from dating and relationships in society, however, that's beginning to change, which is the reason why they're coming up with all kinds of ridiculous laws to punish men now for not dating, for not having relationships, for refusing to have kids. That's why you have all of these bills popping up that want to punish men if they release genetic material and it is not for the express purpose of fertilizing an egg. It is basically they're going to be fined repeatedly. Why? And some of you guys are laughing about it in the comments, but this is the second time that this bill has actually been brought to the floor in another state. And while it's unlikely that it will pass, you can see the thinking right now. It's about controlling men, controlling their bodies, controlling their resources, and forcing them to continue to provide for society and provide for women in society. Don't forget that the fall of the Roman Empire essentially occurred finally once the empire's wealth and resources were completely exhausted. Men walked away from the Roman Empire. Men walked away from society during the days of the Roman Empire because after no fault divorce, women began running off to go. Women began running around, running off with Chad and Tyrone, gladiators, divorcing their husbands, taking their resources. Men basically said this is a bad deal. So they stopped marrying, they stopped having children, they stopped dating, they just remained single. And I forget which Caesar it was. One of the Caesars basically stood up and said that unmarried single men are worse than any of all of the criminals all of in the entirety of the Roman Empire. And these men were barred from going to things like the Colosseum. They were barred from any public. They were barred from all public entertainment. They were barred from the Colosseum. They were punished during the winter. So they were punished in many ways during the winter time. They had to run chain gang style in the streets in the cold to punish them for remaining single, and they still would not get married. Fast forward 100 years, the Roman Empire no longer has a military. You have to understand the Roman Empire spanned most of Europe. Roman Empire no longer had a military. Barbarians were now running wild. They basically came to the Roman Empire, and the the emperor basically offered them like land, in the place of money to protect the empire. The barbarians called the emperor's bluff and pillaged realizing the emperor, they had no money and they had no military. They pillaged the empire. We were plunged into 1,000 years of darkness. And at that point, the church then ruled over humanity for 1,000 years. And, this all occurred because prior to the fall of the collapse of the Roman Empire, all of the resources in the empire were being used to subsidize the living of women. And men walked away completely. Not only that, they were also relying completely on SLAVE labor because men stopped producing and being active in the empire. The only thing is that they could not use SLAV labor in the military. They were express documents making it clear that you cannot use them in the military, you cannot use them to fight for the country, and they ended up with no military. A country without its men is not a country. A country without its men is a wasteland. All right? And an empire without its men is not an empire. An empire without its men ends up becoming a wasteland. And that's what ended up happening to the entirety of Europe. It became a wasteland for 1,000 years. And and technology, math, science, technology, they were stolen from humanity. Some of them existed in another part of the Roman Empire that did survive, and they preserved as much of it as they could have, but a lot of it was still lost, specifically engineering and chemistry. Lots of engineering and chemistry were lost. Some were preserved, but a lot of it was lost, and the status of women fell very poorly during that period of time. And women experienced extraordinary hardships compared to the way they had been living before. Even though the average man during the Dark Ages had a very hard life, women had even harder lives than the average men. And they also had to go work in the fields alongside the men, but they were not treated even as well as the men. And it was hell. You know, this is what, guys, we're pretty much there again right now. We're basically right now on the true unemployment rate. When you factor out the number of people who've dropped out of the economy, which is over 30 million men, is actually around 24%. All right. And we know for a fact that we're going to see a massive collapse as we find out that like things are missing and funds are missing and all this other stuff and hard times, and it's going to result in the collapse of the dollar. Many of you guys are, it's already, the dollar's already in, is already going to gone to hell, but it's going to result in the massive collapse of the dollar, and you're going to see banks chain up the doors. ATMs are going to stop working. The only people who are going to have any cash are going to be people who have crypto. Those of you who are like, oh, I have gold, and my gold is going to protect me. It's not. All right. A couple white guys on horseback will come and snatch that up from you, bro. I'm just being real. Just being completely real. All right. Walking around with gold. You've got to be kidding me. All right. You keep on thinking like, oh, that means the power is going to go out also. What happens if, the ATM stop working just like they did in Greece? The banks chain up the doors, but the power doesn't go out, only for people who can't pay their bills. All right. The only way that you're going to have money going forward is if you're actually invested if you're invested into the crypto economy and you understand how it works. And a lot of you are guys going to sit there like, God, this isn't fair. No, bro, life isn't fair. But now, little bro, you're going to be heading off to Tyrone Tent City. So protect your wealth and safeguard your future with crypto. And like I've said this already, Angry's Crypto Academy will teach you how to buy, sell, trade, and invest in crypto. We'll tell you exactly which coins will mint you millionaires and how to spot potential coins to invest in. There's actually a cryptocurrency there's a crypto right out there right now that no one is talking about. You can actually discover the dark horse crypto that virtually no one is talking about, which will mint you millionaires in the upcoming bull run. And you click the link in the description of the video to Angry's Crypto Academy to find out what crypto this is and join the academy. I mean, guys, hard times are here, miserable times are here, and men are finally waking up and realizing that the marriage scam is like Apple's RAM scam. It's they think that they think we're fools, and we know exactly what's going on. We're being ripped off.
And this is when the story gets very, very crazy. My attorney had figured out by looking at the laws and everything that was arranged where I live, and we were preparing to do all of that and also use it on the basis of the grounds that not only did she have children with the guy that we could prove, she had filed taxes jointly together with him, which showed that they were obviously tied together, that her name was on his bank accounts. And on top of all of that, they had, oh gosh, they had been living together pretty much the whole time, and she even had to admit to it in court. Well, it gets crazy because he and several other attorneys that have been fighting for cases like this and trying to, as they win each case, it sets a precedent and helps other people. I end up getting a message from somebody one weekend saying, your attorney's missing. And just a friend, a buddy of mine on Facebook, I go and look, and there's this poster that's being shared digitally and shared all across social media saying, yeah, he just went missing this weekend. And, oh yeah, now he's mysteriously dead. Which all of that was incredibly disturbing. The attorney at that point, I had known him for years. He was engaged to be married. He had been married before. He was engaged to be married to another woman. And it was never officially determined what the cause of death was. Put me back to a point to where now I'm stuck without any attorney because I can't find anybody willing to actually investigate and fight this. They pretty much shy away from me the minute I tell them who my attorney was and tell them anything about it. And all sorts of strange stuff that's happened with all of that. just oh man, I could go into it, like thing records that people can't seem to find about previous court dates and other things like that that should be readily available, yet nobody can really locate. So it is pretty much a horror story confirming my ultimate point of this video, that generally speaking, marriage is just a sham. Marriage is just completely a racket that ends up raking you completely over the coals, and you need to be very, very careful, tread lightly. In all my court dates and the stuff of dealing with attorneys that I now know way more about than I would ever really want to know, I will tell you that prenuptial agreements get thrown out like crazy. They don't care. They will just toss your prenuptial agreement. You'll be stuck owing for all sorts of different bills and things. And if you are really careful with an attorney, you might get out of some of it. But the only real way that you can do that is to watch your own back.
I'm going to tell you guys something interesting about a lot of men. A lot of men don't learn their lessons. I know, you know, I know a guy. I know a guy who got married to a woman who he, and he ended up having a kid with said woman. And now he got divorced from her because he was in love. He barely knew this woman, got married to her, had a kid right away with her, and things didn't go well with the kid. The kid has quite a few issues, and he's constantly crying over child support and having to deal with this person and saying how just downright evil this person is. And then something interesting happens. One day he starts saying that, he's worried that this person might be pregnant again, and it could be his. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Why would this person be pregnant? And his response was, well, over the Thanksgiving holiday, he was spending time at their place. This is a person who he's made it very clear he's not a fan of. He does not like his child's mother, or baby mama. And he went to their place, was over there, and one thing led to another. This is someone he's talked poorly about, someone whose hygiene he's questioned, and yet he goes over to their place. I guess he was drinking, they were drinking, and they basically hooked up, and he had relationships with this person. He had relationships with this person again with no protection, and now he's basically crying about the fact that she's saying that she might be pregnant again. She might or she might not be pregnant. And it's like, when I say, why would you do something like this? The response is literally, I have to be crazy to question their decision. Obviously, if two adults were drunk, and they end up hooking up, these things happen. It happens. It happens. Why are you looking for support from me then? You're looking for reassurance from me that everything is going to be all right. But then at the same time, you want to attack me for saying, why did you go and do this with someone who is giving you a hard time, who's giving you hell right now? And this is how a lot of men operate and a lot of men think. They'll just keep on rinsing and repeating and doing the same thing over and over because they have no self-control. This is how a lot of simps operate. They have no self-control. They tear down their own reality. They tear down their own lives because they do it once and then they'll do it again. This is why I block so many people on my channel. I ban them outright because it's like, you can tell them a million different times, don't do this, or don't, learn from this, and they'll go and do it again, and then they'll come back and ask for reassurance. It's like, why do you want reassurance from me when I told you not to do these things? I said, I can't tell you what not to do, but don't do this. Do not do this under any circumstance, and you do it anyway. And then you come back and you want empathy, and it's like, you know what? No, I'm done with you, bro. I'm really, really done with you. I don't know, guys. There's so many guys who are also so foolish, like they're looking for love when they should be looking to focus on money and wealth and resources. I've had people say that they would take a soulmate over one Bitcoin. One Bitcoin is now around $96,000, and it's been over $100,000 a number of times. And this is back when I posted that poll a while ago, and that's when Bitcoin was somewhere between like $60,000 and $70,000. And One of these simps literally said something like, you can't even start a business anymore with like $60,000. There were so many simps who said they would take a soulmate over a Bitcoin, over $60,000. You could just take a Bitcoin, convert it instantly, and cash out and take your 60K. And they said, someone said, oh, $60,000 is not even enough to start a business. This is how delusional these people are. Another person said, you don't understand. When it comes to a soulmate, once you meet your soulmate, it doesn't matter if you are homeless, your soulmate will never leave you. So you have to understand a lot of dudes are beyond delusional. And that's why a lot of these individuals are going to end up in Tyrone Tent City. And I've been warning you guys, you should be preparing for these dark times that are ahead. Because very, very dark times, they're not coming, they're here. I ask you something. When the banks collapse, and trust me, it's coming, will you be ready? Imagine waking up to ATMs that don't work, bank doors chained shut, and millions of people left with nothing. No cash, no access to their savings, and no way to survive. But it doesn't have to be that way for you. That's why I created Angry's Crypto Academy, to teach you everything you need to know about crypto so you can protect yourself and your family. You'll learn how to buy, sell, and even day trade crypto for a living. Plus, we alert you to new crypto trends so you can profit before everyone else even knows what's happening. Right now, I've just published an exclusive investment guide inside the Academy, and it's linked in the description below. In it, I reveal the one coin that could make you a millionaire. A coin so revolutionary, it could change everything. If you missed out on Bitcoin and Ethereum, this is your second chance. This isn't just about financial freedom. It's about survival. When the system collapses and everyone else is selling, you'll be the one buying, prepared to weather the storm and thrive while others struggle to survive. Don't wait. This knowledge isn't optional, it's critical. The link's in the description. Go check it out now.
The system. Do not trust what people are going to tell you. Set it up to where there's no way around it except for the person that if you get involved at all, which I recommend being extremely careful about, especially with most women here, because even if they don't have it in their mind to do that, they go talk to an attorney, and an attorney's like, oh yeah, balls, everything's in your favor here, and if you lie, you win cash in prizes, and they won't do a thing to you. They won't charge you with fraud. They won't charge you with perjury. You get away with it. You get to collect money, and so do I. And the attorneys all know this. My attorney, when we went into court and caught her committing fraud and perjury as far as alimony is concerned, he warned me. He said, they're not going to do anything. Now, here's the flip side of that. If the person paying, which is usually the men, some women get caught up in this web too. If the person paying gets caught doing any type of deception at all, they take away your freedom, send you to jail, you're in huge trouble. They come after you 6 ways from Sunday, and they absolutely destroy your life. If it's even suggested or hinted that you might be committing fraud, or maybe even if you've made a mistake, which I don't know hardly any guys that came in there trying to trick the system. They want to pay for their kids and, within reason pay alimony if that's what's necessary. But it is just absolutely incredible how the laws conflict. It works in the favor of people that commit fraud and perjury, and they get away with it. So, yeah, that's why this video is really entitled Marriage is a Sham, because believe me, it is. Watch your back. Be very careful who you are with. Now, I want to mention something. During the course of all of this, I don't want you to throw women just in general under the bus, because we're each individuals. When you say men do this and women do that, yeah, there are generalities that are true. But I have encountered women that, when under pressure, refused to manipulate the system, take their ex to the cleaners, and get a bunch of money that they weren't really entitled to.
Here's the thing, and I actually encountered a woman like that. Her name was Cassie, and she actually was like, I believe, married for a while, and then she had married a guy, and he had a house before they got married, and then when they got a divorce, that the court was trying to give her his house, and she said no. But most women aren't going to accept. Most women, you know, when they get married, they are planning their divorce before they plan the wedding. They plan the exit before they plan the entrance. I've made multiple videos on this, that she will never love you. She can love things that you have. She can love things that you can do for her. She can like things about you, but she will never love you for who you are. You know, and it's a sad reality, and that's why most men have now woken up and they realize that marriage is a scam. Let me know your thoughts. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWM and walking away. And cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.